that we can get started. And I just have some opening remarks that I'll share. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for being here today. My name is Jen Bentley. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the Alumni Officer for the Faculty of Health. And I'd like to start just by acknowledging that much of the work that of the University of Waterloo takes place on the traditional territory of the neutral Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples. And our main campus is situated on the Haldeman Tract, the land granted to the Six Nations that includes 6 miles on each side of the Grand River. Our active work toward reconciliation takes place across our campuses through research, learning, teaching, and community building, and is centralized within our Indigenous Initiatives Office. I'm excited to welcome you to our third ever alumni office hours. This will be our first, featuring a rec and business alumna, Tanya Casole, who's here with us today. And I just want to share that bringing alumni back to connect with our students is an important priority for both the Faculty of Health and for the broader university. Alumni can help show students what's possible, the success they have had, the stories they can share to help shine a light on the path for our students who might be wondering, what their futures will look like. So we are planning to continue our alumni office hours event series every term. This term, we do have another recreation alumna speaking at the end of November that I just want to pitch to you that are here. But also, if you have any requests of careers that you'd like to see or information you'd like to get from these sessions, please feel free to share any ideas or comments you have in the chat. I'd love to get some feedback from our students. And the other thing I want to say is that in order to make the most of this small group session, I'd like to invite everyone to turn their cameras on and make this a little bit more friendly. I think it's easier for Tanya to talk to everyone when she can see some faces and who's here and your reactions to things she's sharing, but then also give you opportunity to ask questions face to face, raise your hand, and make this just a nice group conversation. There's just a few of us here, and I think it's a great opportunity to have a good chat. The other thing I will say related to cameras on is that one of our social media co-op students is here, Sophia, who would love to take a screenshot of our event at some point. So maybe a little bit later, once we get into the Q&A, I'll ask everyone to turn their cameras on. So everyone who's comfortable being in a photo, we will do that a little bit later. And if you aren't comfortable being in the photo, you can just keep your camera off for that as well. So let me introduce Tanya. She graduated from the University of Waterloo in 2009 with a recreation and business degree and began working in social media right away after doing co-ops at Research in Motion, and had the best smartphone on the market at the time. And also a love for sharing on Facebook. In 2014, after a 2-year stint as a social media manager for Internet After Show, the Nat and Marie Show, she was recommended and hired to join the CBC Sports social media team for the Sochi Olympics. And that 1-month job led her to be offered a full-time role later during the Pan Am Games in Toronto, which then snowballed into lead producer role, which sent her to Rio Games in 2016. And just this summer, she produced her 4th Olympics and is now preparing to bring Canadians the Beijing Olympics in 2022 with CBC Sports. Tanya is a content creator and producer, but also an accomplished host, and has been the MC for long-running live competitive painting championship art battle since 2015. But I will turn it over to Tanya and let her fill you in with all of the great things that she does and share her wisdom with the group. So take it away, Tanya.
Thanks so much, Jen. Hi, everyone. So I'm Tanya Casole Gouveia, and Jen and I were actually in school together. Did we graduate the same year? Or because I did
Yeah, I didn't do co-op, so
Yeah, because I did co-op, so I was
a
5
year
years.
apart, but
Yeah,
we
so
were always together.
yeah, so we've known each other for a while, had some fun times, did I was a frosh leader twice, which was super fun. And one of my things that I really, remember from university, one of the many things I remember. I grew up in a small town, and it was small when I was there, but Orangeville it's a lot bigger now, actually. And so I knew I wanted to live elsewhere, but I wasn't ready for the big city of Toronto yet. It sort of scared me. So kind of Waterloo, after doing a sort of victory lap of high school, because I was the first year of grade 13 was over. So I sort of stayed another extra year of high school so I could play basketball again. But then I was looking through, I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do for university. And I remember going to all those university, the events that they do where all the universities come and sort of pitch you on their university. And I was like, do I do English? What do I want to do? And even my best friend at the time in high school did drama, and it didn't even cross my mind that I could do that. I'm a very creative person and I like to perform, but I just kind of took me a long time. And then I was looking through a Waterloo book, and I saw literally recreation and business studies. And I was like, bingo, it just spoke to me, just because I love my recreation and leisure time. And I think that's a part of why people are drawn to recreation and leisure, is because you appreciate the value of your sort of free, time and doing what you feel intrinsically motivated to do. And but then the business aspect, of course, my stepdad, was an entrepreneur. And so that was really important for me. So being able to mesh them and then do co-op, which literally was the reason I could pay for university, was like a no-brainer. So I had a great 5 years at Waterloo. And then, I obviously still have, positive feelings towards the school, because I'm here right now with you. And I'm hoping, I'm just really happy that you guys all found your way to recreation and leisure studies, and maybe sports or therapeutic or events, or all the other aspects of rec that you can do. So that's how I got to Waterloo. After university, it wasn't just so easy for me to go right into social. It kind of was, because when I graduated in 2009, social media it was just starting on Facebook, and influencers weren't a thing. YouTubers were very niche. So it was all very, very new. And I was kind of on a good wave, where I had just done my co-ops at RIM BlackBerry, which was Canada's darling at the time. And when I left, they sort of went a little downhill, unfortunately. But I don't think that's correlated. I might be. But yeah, I did a bunch of different things. I actually got a job. My first job was as a customer service for a student, a ski and snowboard company, like S-Trip, that sort of thing. And then I actually got laid off from them. So I was out of university for a year and a half, had this brand new job. It was so exciting. And then I actually got laid off, and I was like, oh my gosh, my life is over. But it wasn't. I ended up going and backpacking Europe for 3 months, which was an amazing experience. And then coming back to the city, because I had moved to Toronto at this point after graduating, I then, I was waitressing. You're doing all these different jobs, trying to figure out what you want to do. I knew I loved online. I knew I loved social media, and also performing. So I was doing, with my best friend who I met at Waterloo, we were doing, we had a YouTube channel, a duo, acoustic hip hop duo. So we'd make a lot of YouTube videos and things like that. And I started doing community management again for the Nat and Marie show, which you've never heard of probably, but it was a live streaming internet show before it was easy to live stream. Before it was just oh, I'm just going to go live on whatever platform. It took people, it took different platforms in order to make it happen. And so that wasn't really that was I guess it was not an internship, because I wasn't in school, but it was a volunteer position for me. and I did it every Wednesday for about 2 years. And I would do community management for them just because I kind of believed in it. And not kind of, I did believe in it, and the host of it. And it allowed me a lot of opportunities with them, just, honing my skills in social media because I was their community manager, but also their thing was like interviewing, talking about viral videos and trending content and just being in that internet culture world. And then even through them, I was able to, they called them celebrities, which would be like influencers now. So people that went viral, they would interview them and things like that. So I got to meet a lot of these YouTubers before they were necessarily called YouTubers. And through just doing that work, I was recommended to a position for Sochi in the Olympics, and then but at the time I was still waitressing and doing, little side gigs and things, and making my own videos, and then worked for the Olympics for Sochi, and kind of just wanted to keep being in the sports world because that's what, I did a lot of my classes at CBC were event focused, and like the biggest sporting event in the world, we studied it in school, is the Olympics. And so I've had now the pleasure to work on 4, and it's going to be 5 Olympics. I've gone to one of them, hope to go to more in the future. And I think being a student at Waterloo definitely helped to lead me to that path, or being a recreation and leisure studies student definitely helped put me towards that path. Not just having the best smartphone on the market, but literally when I was after Sochi, it was like the Pan Am Games in 2015. My first interview ever was with Steve Nash, the basketball player, because literally it was like Steve Nash, he was the coach of the men's basketball team for the Pan Am Games. And he was going to be doing, okay, you're going to talk to news, you're going to talk to sports, you're going to talk to our weekend show, and then Tanya's going to do social with you. And so it's me just with my phone being like, hi, Steve Nash, because nobody at that point in my career really understood social media. So it was really kind of like a new frontier. So it was really exciting time for me to be there. And I feel really lucky to have been sort of at the right place and the right time. And I remember Waterloo literally prepared me for a job that didn't exist yet. You know what I mean? And that's what I think the big thing about Waterloo is, that's literally, there's jobs that you're going to have that you basically get to make. And for me, that's very true. I was able to basically create what the CBC sports social person did. So it's been pretty exciting. Well,
Awesome. Well, such an interesting journey of ups and downs, and really cool experience, I think. Is there anything else you wanted to share before we jump into questions, or?
Yeah, a little bit, because so I'm a producer at CBC, and a producer is very broad. It can be from people think music producer, or they think film producer. And basically a producer is I can and do sort of, it can be from being an overseer of putting the pieces together, or actually getting an editor, getting a host, or getting someone to do lighting. Or with social media, especially when it was the wild, wild west, it was you are the camera woman, you are the interviewer, you are the lighting, you are the script writer, you do kind of it all. So it's a very broad, but at CBC specifically, it's definitely evolved. Now we have more editors and social specific video editors than we used to. But it's I think with a producer, you have to have a lot of tools in your tool belt. Sometimes I can be interviewing athletes. Sometimes I am behind the camera. So my public speaking skills through what I do, hosting, I don't want to call it a side gig because it is kind of all part of who I my offering as a host. So Jennifer mentioned that I host an event called Art Battle, which is a live competitive painting event. And so that's just kind of my sort of performance aspect of my personality that I allow to come out. But I think that comes out as a producer as well when I'm with athletes and, gaining rapport and making them feel comfortable and being able to have a conversation. So being a producer, I just feel like you have to have many tools in your tool belt, but I think that kind of comes with the territory of being in recreation as well, because if you're offering services or putting on events, you kind of have to wear a lot of hats. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anyone have, based on, Tanya's shared a lot about her, does anyone want to open with a question? Or I can also grab one from what's been submitted. Cassie, I know you have a question.
Called out.
Hey, give me a second to think. Okay, so, oh my gosh, I think I have so many. I would say, I know that you've focused a lot on the Olympics, but other than the Olympics, what sports do you mainly focus on, or is it very broad all the time?
Right. So we are CBC sports. So obviously hockey is going to be a big one just because the Canadiana of it. And so the reason, one of the main reasons actually I love, because I didn't grow up, I know you play hockey, Cassie, but I didn't grow up like a super, I'm definitely a sports fan and I play sports and I enjoy playing sports, but I wasn't like a hardcore fan. And like, I work with people on my team who are those hardcore fans. One of the main reasons I like sports is because it's sort of a microcosm of the greater culture and the greater society, kind of, even with the things that we saw this summer or last summer with like Black Lives Matter and all protesting and things like that was happening in the, in the field of play as well as in the broader society. So I really like the culture aspect of sport. There is of course the celebrity aspect of that as well, but then there's also the, the community aspect, bringing people together. And I do think with the Olympics, there is a huge, say what you want about it, but it does bring people together. But obviously there's the downside to, hosting Olympics as well as like there's a lot of stories about what's going on in China as well. So it's not just about the field of play. And there is so much more to it, but we do, like, I was covering the Raptors for the 2019 playoff championship. Like that was a huge highlight of my career, just being at Jurassic Park, being with all the people. So it's funny because of my work at CBC and because I do write, I'm covered under our journalistic standards and practices. So it's kind of like I even went from being a recreation and leisure grad and producer to like a journalist as well. Cause I write for the website and even all my tweets and captions and posts are covered under our journalistic standards and practices. So it's funny because like you're covering something and you're like a fan, but the saying is no cheering from the press box. So you have to just be like, not be as happy as you are, or like, I don't know. I love sport because it can, how I look at sport too is like, it matters so much, but it also like doesn't matter. Like it's very low stakes in a lot of ways, like, cause it's not, it's not life or death. And, unless it's Squid Game, obviously, but like, it's not like, so it's exciting because that's why I like the culture aspect, because the culture does bring that more meaningful aspect to it. Cause like, it's amazing when an athlete does something amazing and they're Olympians for a reason, or they're NBA players for a reason, but it's also, the broader cultural context that really, really draws me. But I also honestly really love, I love Olympic sport and watching it and that's kind of what it is at CBC is like every 2 years, there's a huge event. Every 2 years, there's something like that's, and I feel like that's part of why I've been at CBC now a long time. And it's because every 2 years there's something else, there's another thing happening. So, but yeah, we cover all the sports. Like this week, there's figure skating going on, Grand Prix season is happening. so yeah, it's weird because the pandemic was like a weird thing because like everything shut down, right? So, but here we are, we're just from home. I don't know if I answered your question, but we kind of do it all. We kind of covered it all. And actually at CBC, we're committed. We've been really focused on covering 50% women's and men's sports. And specifically on social, like we've just got a report, and we're actually on our CBC Sports Instagram account. We're trending like more women's, because we're actually looking for those women's sports stories. The men come really easily because of the big four major leagues, but the women, we actually, we have to try a little harder. But they're also the most, the most compelling stories, because they're not seen very much. And a lot of women first, like this is the first ref for the NBA that's a female and stuff like that. So we do it all. Crystal, do you have a question?
I do. I'm not very good with Zoom. Can you hear me?
Yeah, totally.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for sharing all this stuff. I had to write down the question because you keep like saying good stuff and I don't want to forget. But I'm curious, Tanya, what's it like producing for the Olympics when you can't physically be there? So like, how do you get your information and like share it out? What does that look like?
That's a really good question, because I've been lucky enough to have both sides of it. So the job does change a little bit. When I was there in Rio, I was basically our like Snapchat and Instagram Reels didn't even exist. So it was mostly, and TikTok didn't exist either in 2016, or at least not in the way it is now. So I was like that eyes and ears on the ground and sending sort of photos and things back and showing sort of in the moment what was going on. Whereas when you're doing it from home, it's a lot of like, we live cut a lot of sport. So it's like, you need to see this highlight, you need to see this clip. And when Canadians win medals, we'd create those medal graphics. So you kind of, it's not necessary for us to be on the ground and especially during the pandemic, because that sort of made everyone was like, okay, we're sending way less people than ever before during this last Olympics. So, I mean, we had certain colleagues that were there that were able to send us back some things. And that was mostly like the Japanese culture aspect. Like one of my colleagues, Devin Haru, he is amazing. And he's a writer and he does it all, and he does social, and he's got a huge curling fan base actually. But he was there, and every night he would document because in 7-Eleven, or the 7-Elevens in Japan are like amazing. And that's where they would eat basically. And so he started documenting his 7-Eleven grabs with all this, interesting Japanese food. And he basically gained like 30,000 followers because someone translated his text into Japanese or his tweets. And he went viral in Japan just for sharing what he was getting at the Japanese 7-Elevens. So I suggest you follow Devin Haru if you don't on Twitter. I don't know if any of you guys use Twitter, because I think it's more as an Instagram, Snapchat crowd here. Where do we go? Put your hand up if you use Snapchat. Put your hand up if you use Instagram. I mean, that's like, but put your hand up if you use Twitter. Do you guys use Twitter at all? Okay, a little bit. Yeah, see, I find Twitter, it's just like the PR of the people, so it's nice for celebrities and sports figures in the media to be on it, because it's kind of like a public, I mean, I think, what's his name? The last president of the United States, Donald Trump, I think he like saved Twitter in a way, because he was just on it. So it's funny that he's not on it anymore. So the difference, back to your question, in this day and age, you don't need to be at an event to cover it socially if you have like the live streaming, like really good live streaming. And because of how it is now with athletes and social media and just people on the ground, like athletes are their own PR. So it's like, instead of having like doing a one-on-one with them, you kind of take what they've said on their social, like they'll do a long social media post sometimes. So it's definitely changed how athlete access is. I mean, I always want to go to events, just being there, getting the vibe and being able to share what I'm seeing. But that's not always possible. So for the Olympics, you know, what's going out on our Twitter and Instagram account, much of it wasn't taken by social producers on the ground, but it was sourced by social producers who, you know, you can source it from other places as long as you're crediting. So because there is just so much ability to share, you know, you don't need everyone taking the same picture of one thing. You can use the one photo and credit it. So it's changed it. So it's made it less important like for a social person to be on the ground. But I mean, social people were going to be the last people to be sent to an event anyways. Like they would send broadcast first, because it's still like, especially at CBC, we're still tilted towards our broadcast, whereas that's changing in other media companies, but it's a little slower at the Canadian broadcaster to change. Again, I don't know if I answered your question. It's way better being there. It's way better because it's just more fun. And then you get to like talk to people and, but you can still do it. And yeah, I wasn't in Pyeongchang and I wasn't in Tokyo and I won't be in Beijing, but I'm gunning for Paris. So wish me luck.
Fantastic. I was going to ask Leanna if you had a question because I saw you turn your camera on. So please go ahead.
So my question is, I don't know if you highlighted this, but what would be some of your ways to break into the Olympics? I think that has been something that a lot of my year, so I'm in my final year at UW with co-op, but I've always heard like so many kids at Waterloo in my year, like, oh, I want to get into the Olympics, or I always wanted to work in it. So seeing that you've had opportunities, what would be some ways that students, even after they're done undergrad, like look into breaking into it?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it obviously makes more sense because CBC is the Olympic broadcaster in Canada, but there's so many jobs that are part of the Olympics that aren't through CBC, you know? So like part of it, like the Olympics is one thing, but Olympic elite level sport happens all year, but nobody cares about it until the Olympics. So it's one thing to be like, I want to work the Olympics, but this sport is happening all year right now. And people only really get excited about it during obviously that 2-week period. So if it's like the sport that it's about, and it's then there, you know, there's through the NSOs like figure skating, like Skate Canada, or even Team Canada is like the Canadian Olympic Committee, or through me, because we always need people. Literally, we're always looking for social people to kind of build up our team during the Olympics for everything, even like runners and people just shot listing and things like that. So there is those being on like the CBC's website, starting kind of now to look at job opportunities, but it is also like, I think networking with people, and I'm happy to have anyone here. I'm going to provide Jen with my email. So if anyone wants to just chat, or if it's like about sort of opportunities at CBC, because we are going to be building our team up for Beijing. So it's not like the only way you need to just network, but like everyone always says networking, but sometimes it actually works. Like it's not who you know, it's who knows you, basically, is something I was told a while ago. And it's so true, because it's like, I need someone who can do social media, who knows all of the like, I can be like, if I can say to you, like, I need you to post this reel with captions like that, you know, it's someone, not everyone can do that. Not everyone just knows how to do that. But you know what the great thing is, you can Google how to do it and Google will tell you. So I know you're studying social media in school, but Google can tell you a lot, which you all probably know. So other ways, yeah, I think it's starting more grassroots at the NSO, which is the National Sport Organization level, can really help. There's so many different, like even volunteer positions with it depends what you want to do with the Olympics, really. there's a ton of volunteer positions for every Olympics, and there's literally people who that's their life. They volunteer at Olympics. Like that's what they do. And you basically have to, I don't even think they take care of your room and board. You have to get your room and board, but then you get to go to the events and you have your accreditation. So there's, and I didn't know that actually until I went to an Olympics, which was amazing. Like I didn't go to the Vancouver in 2010. So, but a lot of people in Canada would have, but yeah, I didn't. But there's just, there's so much, like there's so many people are needed to create the Olympics, even, and it doesn't have to just be because we're the broadcaster, but there's internships. I think like pretty much every broadcaster in Canada will amp up their staff for the Olympics specifically, just because it is so big, and there's just a lot going on with it. So yeah, I think it first depends on what you want to do for the Olympics. If it's content, then yeah, like even working for like also these NSOs, like this national sport organizations, like some of them have a lot of money, like Speed Skating Canada, but some of them don't have that much money, like maybe your Wrestling Canada or Judo Canada, who kind of need help. And that's even kind of a foot in the door for content. They all need help with social media. And so they come to us a lot, and we help them sometimes and have those relationships to create content for them. But I'm lucky I got to the national level, like my first sort of foray into the sports world. But everyone will tell you, like, you got to start local, you got to start in the smaller regions and things like that. And you don't gotta, but it doesn't hurt really to start smaller than, and not even smaller, like it's like, with that goal in mind, it's just like a stepping stone. It's not smaller, it's the path to the Olympics.
Tanya, the postings you were talking about for like that you start to ramp up your teams closer to the Olympics, are those like part-time? Are they contract? Like what positions kind of look like?
Right. Yeah, specifically. So it's funny, actually, what I loved about co-op at Waterloo was we got paid. And that's like my jobs at RIM is how I was able to like pay for semesters at university. So that was great. And unfortunately at CBC, our internship program, mostly through like Ryerson's like journalism school and things like that, they're unpaid internships, which I think I don't actually agree with unpaid internships. You can do them and you should, like, it works for a lot of people, but I think it's like we just ask a lot of our interns sometimes, and it just seems unfair to me, but it's just like that's like CBC policy. So, and actually I remember learning in, I think one like a rec class is like, don't tell me policy, like policy isn't what you tell someone in customer service, because it's just like, that's not customer service. I think that was one of maybe Ron's classes. Yeah. But it is our CBC policy for, so we do have internship opportunities, but they are unpaid. But there's a jobs board on the CBC website. I'll send you the actual link, and they're like for external people to apply. And then Jen, maybe I'll let you know too, even about what types of roles we're hiring for the Olympics. And I can kind of feed
if you
that.
Want to share when you have those postings, I can share them with our students for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And so, okay, so specifically for the Olympics, they are like, if it's just an Olympic contract, sometimes they'll start earlier, like kind of just after Christmas, like early January, or sometimes we bring people in and they have 2 days before the Olympics, and then you're working like 20 days straight for the Olympics. And it's just like that 1 month contract. And then it's kind of, that's it. And then at that point, we've had people who have become like, they've become like part of our casual list. So if someone is like a full-time or something, if I book a day off, we need to bring in a casual to cover me, then we would call, that person would be on the list to work. So yeah, with the Olympics, it's like it's like exciting and fun, but it can be like, there's no guarantee for a job after the Olympics, but we kind of always need, specifically for my team, like we kind of always need people. But then again, so see, like with Tokyo, it's crazy because there's 6 months and now we're in another Olympics basically. But between Beijing and Paris is the next one. There's going to, oh no, Beijing and then, yeah, Paris is the next one, summer. Does that make sense? Because then it's LA. No, I'm missing one. I'm missing Olympics in there. I think, oh, there's the Italy one. Sorry, it's the next winter. And then 2028 is LA. I forgot about the Italy Cortina. Sorry. It's more of a longer period between Beijing and the next one, which is Paris. It's like 2 years really. So we do, like, our team does get a little bit smaller right after an Olympics. But it's like a weird time, especially I'm just speaking specifically for CBC, because a lot of people who held on because the Tokyo Olympics was postponed, right? So if you're going to work the Tokyo Olympics and stay on and work that Olympics, then you're going to also work, it just doesn't make sense for you to leave before the Beijing. And I think there'll be a lot of retirements at CBC after the Beijing Olympics, but you didn't hear it from me, but I think a lot of people are ready.
So everybody watch the careers page.
Yeah, watch the careers page at CBC. I'll send Jen some upcoming things that are happening. And yeah, we basically, the commitment for the Olympics would be basically the entire month of February. We own you. So, but it's fun. It's a really fun working the Olympics. Honestly, it's weird because Tokyo, I did completely from home. Like usually like for, Pyeongchang and Sochi, and I was in Rio obviously, but you're in the building, the energy is amazing. There's like free food, like just like they just really took care of you. Like it's just, and then when I did Tokyo, it was like completely from home. It was so different. Like Tokyo was just such a different Olympics. And I think Beijing, I think we're going to be from home again. So it is a weird time. So everything's just weird.
Nobody sent you food every meal.
Nobody sent us food every meal. Like I was working the overnight shift. So I was 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Because that's when the live sport was happening. And like I did that also for Pyeongchang, and but in the building, and it's a lot of fun, but it's definitely a different Olympics when it's completely from home. But like we do team meetings, G-chat we use like crazy at work, and I don't feel like things don't really slip through the cracks. We're all talking all the time, and saying, oh, I'm going to create a graphic on this, or did you guys see this post from so and so, or Simone Biles is not competing again, things like that. And like we plan what we're going to do when we have meetings around it. So it is different. I'm not sure. I think after the Olympics, we'll probably be back in the office for CBC wide, but I don't know. Things are in flux. It's such a weird time. Like I really feel for you guys, honestly, like having to do classes and things like from home, like that. You didn't sign up for that. Unless you did, because some people did, but I could never do like distance learning, to be honest. Like I remember it being offered in university, and I just am not self-motivated enough, or at least I wasn't then. Maybe now I would be, but definitely kudos to you guys for just being in university when this whole global pandemic went down, and just really having to figure out what learning looks like and what being a student looks like, and not necessarily getting, I can't speak for you obviously, but just like for me, that social aspect of university was so important, and so like my favorite part of being a student, basically, I think kind of everyone. So hopefully you were still able to get that social aspect, but in, a little, in other ways. Because yeah, it's tough. I really feel for you guys for sure.
Mm-hmm. I think everyone is really looking forward to January and being back on campus and together, people in the office, like all of those things. So hopefully we continue to move in this good direction. But I'm going to shift gears a little bit unless somebody else has a question they want to ask right now. I was just looking at our question list from that were pre-submitted, and I wanted to ask, like, looking at a time right now where you're not focused on Olympics, tell us what like a day at work or a week at work looks like. Like, what sort of things are you doing?
Cool. Yeah. Well, so today, for example, like there was the World Series happened last night. So, which kind of nobody really cared about in Canada because the Jays weren't in it. And like the teams were kind of, the Astros are cheaters. Atlanta has a mildly racist name. So it was kind of like a little more low on priority, but we still, the GM of the team used to be the Blue Jays GM. And so, we're trying to find the Canadian angle of that. So, he's the first Canadian GM to win a World Series. So creating basically Instagram graphics on that. A lot of what I do is seeing kind of what we have on our website and story-wise, and figuring out how I'm going to tell that story on Instagram, how I'm going to tell that on Facebook, how I'm going to tell that on Twitter. So even something like also today was and also lots of emails, and I have my group morning meeting with the editorial team, like our writers, our video editors, and kind of everyone says sort of what the priorities are of the day and what we'll be focusing on. So like our main priority of the day obviously was sort of not the fallout, but the aftermath of World Series, as well as today was the 26 years ago today, the Raptors played their first home opener. So I edited a little video on that and posted that as an Instagram reel. I have a weekly thing for our weekly show. It's called Road to the Olympic Games. And this weekend, it's like on TV, on CBC, and it's when you see sports on CBC, basically. It's so this weekend we're showing figure skating, which is the Italian Grand Prix. So last weekend, actually, it was the Skate Canada. So the Canadian, if you don't know figure skating, there's usually like 6 Grand Prix, and then it's like in different countries and different athletes, and then whoever gets the wins the most becomes goes to the Grand Prix final, and then is the Grand Prix final champion. So it's different from World Championships, and it's different from Olympics. So last weekend we had Tessa Virtue, who everyone may know and love. She was one of the commentators on our show. So we did some content with her, because kind of every time we post anything about Tessa Virtue, it's gold, and it just does really good numbers for us. So like this week, we don't have her on the show, but I'm still the lead on our figure skating content. So just kind of planning for what that's going to look like, who are the big standouts that are competing at the Grand Prix. I've done sort of some research on them. And then kind of just making my plan, because I'm not working this weekend. So making the plan for the weekend people, like make sure you're covered, like clipping, like live cutting Pap and Sis, who are the ice dancers that came in second to Tessa and Scott at the Pyeongchang Olympics. And what else did I do today? Had some meetings, answered some emails. I do tend to, because I'm actually, this is another good thing about why I really like my job is a few years ago, I got a new director, and he came from the Weather Network, and he was like, I want everyone in social to be on a 4-day work week. So I've been on a 4-day work week for just over a year now. And so it's 10-hour shifts. So I love it. That's not the norm necessarily, but it is kind of, and it's on a rotation. So it's not like I'm Monday to Thursday every week, but this week I am Monday to Thursday, but like next week I'll work Monday, Tuesday, and then Saturday, Sunday. So I'm on a rotation. So I kind of like that. So it's not necessarily the norm, but like jobs in social media aren't necessarily going to be 9 to 5, maybe is the takeaway. And now everything's from home. So I think my ideal in the future is to have a completely remote job, like fully, like I think the pandemic for a lot of people has made everyone just realize like, oh, if I can do my job from a beach or something, that would be the ideal. And working for Jen's shaking her head, yes. And so like, working for the Canadian broadcaster, it's not necessarily, that's not an option that's really available to me. But a 5-year plan, I think I definitely want to be completely fully remote because I don't want to be here for winter. So wish me luck, I guess. I don't know. Don't wish me luck. I'll figure it out. So I don't know. There's no complete plan, but yeah, social media is a job that you can have. You can be completely remote. You don't have to be there all the time. So that is something. And I think the thing that I think is like the most important thing to do for anyone is to travel. I think it's obviously it costs money, it's time. There's also the environmental aspects of being on a plane and things like that. But I think going places and meeting people is like the point of life, at least for me. So, and it just makes you, yeah, if you can do it, I'd say, honestly, I didn't do an exchange or anything when I was in high school or university, but if I could turn back time and do something like that, I think that would be what I would want to do, or getting a co-op in a different country. Like I was always kind of in Southern Ontario. I did go to like out west for one thing, but if you can get a job in a different country and just, yeah, I think that's what I would change about my university career, is like doing some sort of exchange.
Honestly, I would second that, because if I could go back, I would travel so much more than I did.
It's just money, right? You think you don't have money, and then you're like, but then you make money, and like sometimes you have money, sometimes you don't.
Or you think that like getting this job is important in your 20s, but then you never I never had a chance to go see places. And I'm like, now I wish maybe I didn't just always worry about the next job, but I saved some of that money and saw a bit of the world. But
yeah,
anyways,
there's still time.
Yes, and I've seen some of it.
Yeah, and you're gonna see more. There's always, that's a thing to do. Like you're never satisfied. Like you're never like, oh well, I've seen that place. You always want more. So there is like, it's a slippery slope, because once you start traveling, like all you want to do is keep traveling. And then also with social media, you see, oh, does this person have a job? What does this person do? Why are they always traveling? And then you're also like, so it is like, it can be a negative thing too, because, people, you don't know everyone's story and what makes them able to travel, and what, if they've had a head start that you didn't have and things like that. And so it's also like feeling bad about yourself for not being where they're at, or comparing yourself to others. That's always going to be, I think, cause negative feelings. So, and then in social media, that is a huge aspect of it. It is like the mental health aspect of it, because you are seeing, even with CBC, like CBC is doing this pilot program right now, specifically in news, where they've shut off all comments on Facebook. Like you can't comment on a news story on Facebook at all, just because there was just so much toxicity in the comments. And on our website, when you comment, you actually have to sign in, but on Facebook, you don't. So like, not only does that affect, it makes people be like, CBC, why aren't you monitoring these comments? Well, because there's thousands of them and we don't have the capacity. And also, like, for us, sort of in sports, we go a little rogue, and we kind of allow people in the comments to sort of check each other rather than moderating. But again, like I said, our stuff is low stakes. Usually now, I don't know if you've read the news, but there's a lot of sexual abuse allegations in the NHL, in the CONCACAF, in soccer. Like there's definitely like a bit of a reckoning with sport and abuse of authority and things like that. So on stories like that, we tend to, like, more sensitive stories, we take comments off. So I guess that does help, but it is nice to have a place where people can sound off if it's respectful. But yeah, again, it's specifically for social producers. Like we've had, sometimes during the Olympics, we've had a commentator said something that was taken like that they shouldn't have said as on a hot mic. And so then the hate comes to CBC, but it comes to the social media people. So it is a lot, you know, to take in of like, you know, it's not directed at you or it's not your fault, but it can be a lot. So protecting your mental health and stepping away and being able to turn off is working in social is like really important. And not, you know, sometimes like social can give you really, really positive feelings, but there is that the negative feelings as well that you can get, and you have to sort of manage whether that is stepping away or just, you know, doing your affirmations or, you know, taking a bath, or, I mean, you can't do that always when you're at work. It's easier when you're working from home though. Then you can just be on your computer in the bathtub. But
I think someone had actually submitted a question. I think they're on the call
about turning off, right?
And how do you do that and set boundaries?
Man, it's hard. It's hard because I know some people who do, like, so I've said in the past as like a joke, but maybe it's not a joke, is that my job is my addiction, and like in a way that's haha funny, but it's like, yeah, I for me personally, I do I can be on my phone too much. And just like we all get kind of caught up in the scroll and like, okay, I'll watch one more TikTok. So I've just made conscious decisions to like not have my phone in my bedroom. So I read before bed. I have, instead of like needing my phone to check the time, I have a bedside clock. Like, so it's just not in my bedroom, just so I can take that time. And then also just made a conscious decision to like do more activities. Like tonight I have a pottery class. So it's like, I can't touch my phone because I'm going to be using my hands, and I hula hoop. So just trying to do things like, that's a thing. I think when I've sort of scrolled and started feeling like, you know, I'm not enough, or I'm not doing anything, it's like, okay, I need to probably get outside, probably get on my bicycle, maybe text a friend, which texting is on your phone, but I think there's difference, or calling a friend. So just like noticing, I think the first step is knowing that you have a problem. But then, you know, trying to do other things. So if I'm on my computer all day, I'm not really on it at night as much. I mean, I'll watch obviously The Bachelor, because how could you not? But yeah, I think I just know that. And it's funny actually, because even with this whole Facebook stuff going on, like I knew Facebook was going to be a problem back in 2006. Like it's obvious. And even to me, it's like, when, you know, the whole thing about the Facebook data leak, not data leak, but the what just happened with Facebook?
Like the power outage or whatever.
And not even that, just about how it's bad for mental health, and it makes gives teen girls like bad feelings. And Facebook knew this. Yeah, everybody knew this. Everybody knows this. I feel like, so like, I mean, there's more to it. It's more nuanced, and it's like, obviously Facebook's serving you specific things, and like, you know, neuroscience and just knowing how your brain works. But to me, I feel like it's been so obvious. And I don't also think I think it's going to be not even a reckoning of what's going to happen with, you know, these platforms being able to police things. I think laws will be written into, because I don't necessarily, like, there's just so much. And even Zuckerberg said, like, we need help. We can't like police all this fake news. Like, we just can't do it because we're a platform for posting. So I think social media is going to change legally on how it's allowed to be used in the future. And like because people are being silent, like, you know, every time you post something, like you say something, there's like a COVID thing on your Instagram post, like, you know, if you go against the Instagram guidelines because you posted about a nipple, I don't know, like, it just, you know, these platforms become like God in a way, but then again, that's their proprietary business. Like, you can tell people to leave your business. So it's definitely, social media still is like, there's going to be, I think, some changes happening. But it's just, the internet is just so big and so broad, and there's always going to be a new thing. I don't know what the new thing, what are the kids using these days, guys? What's the new app? What's the new thing that we should be on? We're on TikTok. Is there anything else that I need to be on?
Not yet, I guess.
Not yet.
Uh,
Not yet.
just checking the time. Does anyone have any final questions they want to ask? I'll give you all a minute. Sophia, we should also take this snapshot for you. And then I think I have one kind of closing question
Cool.
for Tanya. So if everyone wants to turn on their cameras quickly,
Smile.
give everyone a second to join on screen who doesn't mind being in our picture. And then Sophia, maybe give us a countdown and we can all smile and like thumbs up or something for you.
Okay, is everyone ready?
Yes.
We're all good? Okay, I'll do a 3, 2, 1 once I get it all set up here. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Cheese. Can I take a
I think
photo
we're good.
on mine?
Yeah, sure.
here's mine.
Go ahead.
1, 2, 3, cheese. Got it. Cool. Thanks. Great smiles. Yeah, I hope I answered questions and didn't ramble too much. And I appreciate you guys all being here. Obviously, thank you for coming.
And so I'm going to ask one more question that came in, and I think you said something about this in your description for your talk, but it was, what are the other ways to get paid aside from money?
Yeah. So yeah, everyone says like, I mean, I think mostly artists have a problem with, fine artists have a problem with exposure, right? That's what everyone says. It's like, exposure is not going to pay my bills. That's totally true. But like sometimes exposure does lead to other opportunities. So I think there is a fine line, not even a fine line, like exposure, if you're sort of established, doesn't work. But if you're not established at all, you obviously don't want to be taken advantage of. But sometimes, like I said, even with the national sport organizations who are like smaller, they don't have a budget for necessarily social media. Sometimes being able to do their content, like if you get like a volunteer position doing their content for them, like it really helps out the sport organization. And it also gives you like something to show for that work, like it gives you something to add to your portfolio. Like if you're trying to, for me, like if someone's trying to work in social media and they're not already doing social media, whether it be for a brand or for themselves, then you don't really want to work in social media, because it's so easy right now for you to work like you have, if you're like, oh, I want a social media job, but you're not actually doing it currently in a way that's just for yourself or for your dad or something, like then it just, the desire and the passion isn't there, because it's just so easy to do social media right now. With even like, oh, I'm not a graphic designer and things like this, but like there's things that are really easy, like Canva and all these free sort of apps that allow you to create really beautiful content. So I think that's a big part of it. Like even I think with music and stuff, like people like want to be singers, but if you're not, using GarageBand to make your own music, or like just even using a voice note recorder on your phone, like the technology is there. The technology is at your fingertips. So there's really no excuse to not being like creating content, really. Like if you want to be a host and you're not, putting YouTube videos up, there's like a disconnect there, because like it's just so, I think it's just the technology is such that influencers and YouTubers, not saying you have to be an influencer or a YouTuber, but the technology is there. So that's one of the big ones about, sorry, I know this is about getting paid in other ways, but another way I got paid, like when I was doing that, I think exposure is definitely going to be the big one, because even when I was doing that, the Nat and Marie show, one of the guests that we had on was the founders of Art Battle, and now Art Battle's all over the world, and I met them, and now I'm hosting Art Battle. So that's, I guess, part of exposure. But even another thing that I did a like a video series of where I hosted it. I hosted video series, and it was like I was interviewing people, and I lowered my, like it was definitely I got paid, but it was a lower rate than I would have taken. But then I had content that I could just repurpose, and kind of sometimes having really beautiful pictures or really beautiful video or something that you can yourself use is kind of payment. I've done things where I've hosted an event for someone before, and then they made me a logo for my open mic night. So like there's obviously goodwill, which is good feelings. Like I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Or there's like meeting and networking opportunities that come from doing work for free, or there's building your portfolio. Yeah, there's definitely, I think, a whole number of ways. And a part of it too is just, yeah, like, I think it is like a big part would be to like meeting and networking with new people for sure. Is I think if you're in, I mean, it depends what it is. But yeah, I think there's a lot of ways, and I've done a lot of like free work, but I've gotten something out of it. And sometimes you just feel good about doing it. Like I volunteer at the food bank, and I don't obviously don't get paid, but I feel good about it. And then I put it on my resume, and I think that kind of looks good.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing all of those. I like hearing those. It's nice to think about, the ways you can do work and the extra value it can give you that might not be top of mind at the time.
Yeah. And even you might even just like love what you're working on and like really find joy in that. So that's also like goodwill and good positive feelings, I think, are a way to feel, or at least to sort of make it okay in your mind. Because sometimes it's like, okay, I'm doing this for less than I really, really want to, but like, they're feeding me or something. I don't know. So there's things, I don't know. I look at it like money isn't the be all and end all. And sometimes being able to say, like, even for me with Art Battle, sorry, I'm going along too. Like for Art Battle, the fact that I can be like, like I meet someone and I'm like, oh, I have an event. Oh, I'll put you on my list. Being able to put people on my list, that it's like letting them in for free. It doesn't cost me anything. And I'm like, it's just a way that it just helps me look better, I guess. But I will take less of a official payment if I can just put whoever I want on my list and it's fine. So I don't know. I think I do some gymnastics in my mind about payments sometimes, but then there's also the importance of knowing your worth and not doing less, not getting paid less than your worth and not getting taken advantage of. So again, it's just something you kind of have to navigate. And I think as women, we're all, women here, I think we don't ask for necessarily raises when we deserve it. And we do work above and beyond. And so getting paid is important because exposure is not going to pay your bills, but sometimes it does lead to bigger and better.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tanya. Is it your CBC email that I can share with people?
Yeah, please. Yeah,
I have that in the chat here, so I will just put it here.
Oh yeah, and
wants to quickly copy paste. If anyone is interested in connecting with Tanya afterwards. And then Sophia put a note in the chat about our channels to tag if you do post any, like your photo you took.
Yeah, 100%.
So tag us, and just generally thank you so much for spending this time with us. I hope the students who are here got some great information and tips and advice from Tanya, and please look forward. We have another Rec Alum November 24th, I think is the right date. It's a Wednesday, so
yeah, that's a Wednesday.
Check that out, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you guys. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.